So she talks with Kimberly, and she tells her about her plan to go to Roger's house. And Kimberly's like, you can't go by yourself. I'm coming with you. And so Olivia's like, no, if I brought you along, he's going to know why you're there. It's not going to work. So then Kimberly comes up with a real good plan. And she's like, okay, I got a brooch. It's got a camera. It's got audio. So we got video, audio. And we'll have you wear it. And then she also has like some pills for him to like pass out. So she's going to have to drug him. So when he wakes up, there's going to be a condom, some lotion, like she has to use lotion to make it look like she really went through with the act. Janelle is there as well. Her, like, what is it? House is like manager, assistant type thing. She's there along with Kimberly. So they're going to be watching the feed while everything is happening. So that way they'll have, you know, all the evidence they need. So actually, she actually made a comment, Olivia did, that, you know, she loves him so much. She doesn't want him to lose anything because of her. And all of this is being recorded, right? And then you hear her saying like, oh, are we going to edit this? I'm like, this girl. So she gets to Roger's house. And he's already drinking, and she tells him, you know, that he has to sign this agreement before they do it. So she had Kimberly's attorney like draw up this contract that basically says, you know, you're going to let Hunter out of the contract with you if I go through with this. And, you know, he's all like, you know, acting like he's not going to sign it. But she's like, I'm not going to do this with you unless you sign this piece of paper. So she asks him, you know, like, why do you hate your son so much? And he basically feels like if the contract folds, then Hunter will have more than him. And it shouldn't be that way. He's the father. He should always have more than his son. So he clearly doesn't want his son to do greater works than him. He's very much, you know, I'm the father. I should have more. So he's also upset because Hunter pretty much pushed him out of the company. Well, he's crooked. And he was trying to teach Hunter his bullshit ways. Hunter didn't want to run business that way. And so he feels like his son didn't wait his due time to have the amount of power that he has. So it's pure fucking ego. Nothing else but ego. And it kind of makes sense too of why he would like fuck the maid. Because he knew his son felt a certain way. So this is a problem this man has had, period. Because this started when the boy was like 17. So clearly this is more than just from that company. There is just a bad issue that he has. That's a horrible father. And so that's why he's willing to go through all of this for that. So she's just like, that's kind of trivial. Like, I thought it was going to be something deep, you know? But this is trivial. And he's just like, oh, you wouldn't understand, you know, and all this type of stuff or whatever. So she gets an opportunity to slip the pill in his drink while he's looking over the agreement she had brought. So he signs it. And then he starts slurring. His speech starts slurring. And then he passes out. So he apparently had taken a Viagra because his dick was already hard. And she was like, oh, she was just so grossed out. But then she had to touch it because she had to use the lotion to like put the condom on. So then she ran out of there before one of the maids came back. She gets outside. She hears Olivia. Let me say it correctly. She hears Olivia. And she knows it's Hunter. So he's there, and she like explained what happened, but he had already knew because when he came to her loft, he saw Kimberly and Janelle looking at the footage, and they explained what was going on. So they get back to the loft. He has some plans for Olivia. He tells her, pull the sheets back, get your heating lotion, the handcuffs, and blindfolds. He ties her up to the bed, and then he blindfolds her as well, and then they have like this amazing fuck session. It was great to read that. It really was. So then in the morning, she heard Hunter on the phone saying that he can't fight the document that he signed. So she comes in and she's like, you know, what's the problem? And he was like, no, it's just my father trying to fight back. He says that you drugged him, but there's no way he can prove it. Plus, we have audio and video footage. So Olivia was like, how do you know? And he's like, I watched the whole thing on your computer. So she stealed because she knew at the beginning of that transmission, she had said to Kimberly that she was doing this because she loved him. So he was like, yes, I heard everything, but I'm not mad. So then he also tells her that his mother, she's invited both him and Blair to the party. So the mom, she just, she's being cordial, but she did this prior to the fallout. She didn't know that the fallout had occurred with Blair. But unfortunately, the invitation had already gone out. Blair's going to come and she's going to show her ass. You already know it's going to happen. So it made Olivia kind of concerned as well as Hunter, because you just didn't know what you're going to get with that girl. So then he was like, we need to take a shower. He's like, come with me so I can fuck you again. I love when he talks like that. That is the hottest thing. So when she comes home from work with Bert, there's like bitch written in pink on her building. So she, of course, has Bert come up with her because she's a little scared. And she doesn't know if Blair's still around. So she's not. Pat comes and Janelle come over. They're going to help her get ready for her to go over to his mother's home. So they get to Hunter's mother's house, and Hunter's taking care of a little business. The mother, her name's Trisha, she offers to take her on a house tour. So the mother takes her on the tour, shows her some of Hunter's artwork from when he was younger, and he wasn't very good. But that's her baby stuff. So she likes to show it off. So she even starts saying how she thinks that, he should get outdoors more and even have children, and how that would open him up more. And Olivia in her mind is like, both of his parents are just crazy in different ways. Like, oh my gosh, she just met me and she's talking about having babies. The hell? So while they're talking, Blair comes in and they go to dinner. And she thought she was going to embarrass her at the dinner table, having Olivia reveal that, what she does for a living, being the assistant. But it didn't work because people understood how hard the economy had hit, and everyone, even some people at that table, were affected by it. So she even spoke of, the work she does with Bruce with the game, and everyone was so enthralled with her and intrigued. And Blair looked at her with pure fucking hate in her eyes. And Olivia knew this bitch's wrath is coming upon me. But she was like, right now, I'm just going to enjoy the moment. So the next week goes by, no problems. And then while she's home, she realizes she hasn't taken her birth control pills in a week. So she's looking for them. And let me say it correctly. She was looking for them the week like her period was on, but she didn't see them, and she was like, okay, I'll look for them later. But then she forgot. So now she's gone a whole fucking week, and she hasn't been on any birth control. So she's freaking out, because she's doing a lot of work. You got to remember, Hunter's a demanding boss, and Bruce is, there's a lot of stuff she's doing. She's building a fucking game. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot of work. So her brain is just, it hasn't been on. And unfortunately, yeah, poor girl. Poor girl. So she's freaking out. And Hunter comes to her place. And she's just like, he can tell something's wrong with her. So he's like, what's wrong? She starts rambling. Eventually, she gets to the point and tells him, I haven't taken my pills all week. I'm so sorry. She's like, I know how much you trusted me, and I violated your trust, and I'm just so sorry. And then he asked her, is it mine? If you are, is it mine? And she was like, what? And he was like, I need to hear you say it's mine. So then she realized it's not that he's calling her a slut or a whore. It's just that because of what happened all those years ago with the maid Denise, he just wants to hear like that this, if she is, this is my child. And so then she, of course, told him, yes, if I am, it's yours. It's no one else's. So then he tells her, that he loves her finally and that he does want children with her and that his mother loved her as well. And so then he also tells her, if you are pregnant, we're both going to have to scale back at work because, I don't want to be the type of parents that I had. So then, of course, they fuck, and she has the thought, hell, we haven't used protection all week. What's one more time? So she did tell him, that she wasn't ready. But kind of like throughout the week, he kept like trying to fuck her. He kept fucking her raw. So I'm like, okay, clearly he's trying to get you pregnant, and deep down you must want it because you keep letting the man come in you. So you kind of gotta want it at some kind of way. So finally, one day at the office, he asks her to come in, and he tries to kiss her, and into his office, and she says no. So he of course looks at her like super strange, and then he messages her, like, I want to make love to you, and she was like no. So now they have this little thing going on, this little game, and Brenda was so funny because Brenda was like, this has been like the happiest he has ever been, like, don't ruin this. And so Olivia was like, I gotta set some boundaries and I gotta tell him no. So she gets an email from Bruce, and there's like a lot of bugs they need to fix on the game, and so she's like, she gets right on it. So then he sends her sunflowers, which are her favorite. He had called her mom and found out like what flowers did her father give her, and it was sunflowers because they were her favorite. And so he also put a sonnet in there, and she just melted. So Brenda was like, well, who was that sent from? And she's like, Hunter. And Brenda was like, well, who ordered it? And Olivia was like, I guess he did it himself. And Brenda was like, he's never done that in the whole time I've known him. So Brenda got kind of teary-eyed at how like really sweet that was. So then she goes in, and of course, she gives him some. So while they did it, they both were like saying like, I love you. And it was just so sweet because it's a different type of energy and atmosphere. It really is when like you're both saying to each other that you love each other, and then you're able to have like this nice, amazing sex. It's a whole different type of an experience. So it was super sweet for them to be able to like have that. So they both clearly want a baby, and they say it. And so just as I thought, because I figured she's gotta want this because she keeps letting this man come inside of her. So she comes home one day. The loft is completely trashed. There's vulgarity spray painted like all over the walls. The pictures have been slashed. I mean, this apartment is fucked up. Then on top of it, there was shit in the middle of the mattress. So they knew it was Blair because they had her on surveillance. So apparently she had messed up some of Hunter's house as well, but she didn't really demolish it the way that she did Olivia's place. And it was because that's where Hunter and Olivia spend their time. So of course that's the place she wants to like defecate on. And just, I was like, this woman is a nut. She is not fucking stable. So Hunter asked her, like, he's like, I didn't want to ask you this way. He was like, but we spend all our time together anyway, just move in with me. So she was like, you know what, sure, with him is where she wants to be anyway. So 2 days later, she moves into Hunter's house. All traces of Blair have been removed. She hears the shower going. She goes in, she sees him, and on the counter he has purchased some pregnancy tests. So he was like, you said last night that you were 2 days late. And she was like, Kimberly says it's not likely to get pregnant that fast on the pill when you come off of the pill. And he was like, well, let's see. He's like, I want to be here for this. He's like, don't leave me out. So he went, sat on the bed. She took the test, and they are pregnant. And he had, of course, the biggest smile on his face. So that was the end of this book. The next book is going to be Forever Please. Let me know what you guys thought of More Please. Could you have done the thing she did with Raj? Could you have gone through with that plan? Even just having to touch his dick, it's just like, ugh, Do you think you could have gone through with that? My favorite part, I think, had to be... That was like probably my favorite part, though, because the planning of that and then the execution of it. It was kind of fun to read that because it was like this whole espionage thing going on. And espionage is always fun. So I will get that next book to you guys next week. Remember to go in the comment section, discussion board. Let me know what you think of this week's book. As always, I truly thank you for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.